apologies for my silence on social media this week. It's been I've been slack. I appreciate I've been slack. It's been a rough week. Lots of stuff happening at home. Didn't have a guest, so I was able to pull someone in, and it was nice. It was a bit of a departure from my normal content. Talking about rugby, talking about business. I got a chance to talk about one of my hobbies, which is watching basketball, watching the NBA. So it was nice, to be able to chop it up with someone who's a really good content creator in that market. And that's probably selling him short and the Daily Dribble podcast short, because they also cover the NBL. They're big Jack Jumpers fans. Shouts to the Tasmanian Jack Jumpers, who are looking like they're going to make finals this year, which is pretty cool for a team who are first year in the league. So it's good. Before I get to that, there's a couple of people we need to thank. Firstly, the cover.com.au and the podcast network that is being put together by the cover.com.au. So at the moment, you've got me, Liam, Give 'em Liam podcast. You've got the Daily Dribble podcast, but there are others being added and in the process of being added as we speak. You've got Toby Canning coming back. NRL's back. First round done and dusted. So he is going to return with his column for another year, and hopefully longer than that, but at least another year. We've got all kinds of stuff happening. It's going to be good. So head to the website, www.thecover.com.au. The cover spelt as it sounds. Make sure you get there. There's stuff going up every week, multiple times a week. It's fun. We have fun. We're unfiltered. We're unattached. So we can say what we want. We can do what we want. If you've got a story for us, if you've got, hey, you want to come on, you want to jump on a podcast, talk your shit, then shout out. Send us an email. We'll see how it goes. I'm excited this week. We've got Super Rugby back, NRL's back, AFL's back, Super W, NRLW, NBL in full swing. WNBL's about to shift into finals time. The UC Caps are doing their thing. I know that they Thursday night they got a little bit of a workover, but that's okay. That's okay. That happens. Get that out of the way before the finals. They're going for championship number 10. The Brumbies are doing their thing. Both the men and the women. Raiders are doing their thing. Jack Whiten was incredible last week in that win over the Sharks. And I think the cool thing about that game is 12 months ago they would have lost that game. They got out to a big lead. Sharks came back. And then if we're shifting the clock back 12 months, they would have lost that game. So shouts to the Raiders. Shouts to what you're doing. And without further ado, sorry. One more company we've got to thank. Riverside. Head to riverside.fm. In fact, don't head there. Head to our website. If you're thinking about buying it, thinking about starting a podcast, head there. Click the affiliate link that is on our page now. I'm being told that it is actually up. Head to that link and buy it, because we get a kickback, the show gets a kickback, the cover gets a kickback. Everyone's happy. You get to start your podcast. Maybe you'll be part of the Cover Podcast Network. I don't know. I guess you'll have to take the plunge and find out. So finally, here it is. And mind you, this was recorded on Thursday night, so some of the conversation might be a little bit out of date, not too much. But here is me chopping it up with Nic Zammit, who is 1/3 of the Daily Dribble podcast, and you can catch them on our network, on the Covers Podcast Network, every Sunday. Tends to be Sunday afternoon, Sunday morning that they put up their show. So check them out. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Don't forget to subscribe to that channel. And don't forget to subscribe to the Covers newsletter, because that goes out every week. There is a lot of content in there that you're not going to get on the website, some insights, some cool stuff. So make sure you don't miss out on that. All right, without further ado, here is my conversation with Nic Zammit. Nic Zammit, 1/3 of the Daily Dribble podcast. And for the second time tonight, the listeners won't hear the first part because we couldn't get it to work. But, thanks, mate. Thanks for being here.
Mate, technical troubles aside, I'm delighted to be here. I can't wait to talk some ball. I tell you what, it's a good thing we've both got any hair left at this point. But it's been a while in the works, so I can't wait to be. I really thank you for having me on, Lee. I'm stoked to be here.
Yeah, look, thanks. And I was without a guest, and I put the call out, and you put your hand up. So appreciate it, and hopefully I can hang with you in the ball talk tonight.
Mate, absolutely, no doubt about it.
So look, top of the show, this afternoon, Steph Curry goes out with an injury. They're reporting foot soreness, but it didn't look good to me. It didn't look good to me for a couple of reasons. The play itself, and slow-mo always makes it look tough, but the play itself wasn't great. But then you actually look at Steph's response. So he gets straight up, and then it's only when he pushed off that it seemed to really bother him. And sometimes, that lends itself, or that makes it seem like it might be a little bit more sinister or a little bit more serious.
Those kind of injuries where you do push off, especially like in basketball, hey, where it's such an explosive, dynamic sport that's, the movements are so quick and, lateral, unilateral movement. It really is, just to see the discomfort he was in. And, just as we were speaking about in our first tried recording, it was such a nothing play from Marcus Smart there. You love the intensity, you love the hustle, but it's a fine line where you're kind of overstepping it for the sake of nothing, really, which that play was. And it's horrible to see arguably one of the league's best players potentially with a pretty big cloud over his head at the minute heading towards the playoffs. Yeah,
and you could see, they showed some footage of Kerr, sort of going at Marcus. And I like Marcus. I love his intensity. He obviously means a lot to that Celtics group. But the ball was going out.
It was. There was no two ways about it. That was a dead play. And it was just, what really was the sake of it? Just to show that he's, the best guy to go in. He's going to, play with his heart on his sleeve on every play. But, it was, there is, as we said, a fine line between stupidity and hustle. And I think it erred on the side of stupidity. And I really, really hope for the Warriors' sake, they've just got Draymond back. We're expecting Wiseman back, I think, on Sunday or Monday or something in their game against the Spurs, I believe it was. So if it's potentially Curry out now, it really does probably derail them a little bit depending on the timeline for return there.
Yeah, well, and the team doesn't look the same without Draymond. Like, so to get him back, and it always takes a couple of weeks to get back to, get back to fitness, get back into the swing of things. Absolutely. But without Steph, it's going to be really hard for them to come out of the West. Sorry.
I agree. Yeah. I agree 100%. Like both conferences this year, it's probably one of the years I've most been excited about by the NBA. Like, as a Lakers fan, there's not too much to be excited about, but both conferences are just loaded. So it really is, you're kind of splitting hairs trying to pick a winner in each conference. The Suns are, head and shoulders above. You look in the East, you've got, Miami on top, but there's other teams right there in the mix. And so, the Warriors are going to have to be at 100% if they're going to turn some heads this playoffs.
Yeah, and you think, you mentioned Phoenix, the Suns, so they're without Chris Paul at the moment, and they don't look like they've missed a beat. So you get a fit and healthy Chris Paul back in, who's going to give you, especially late in games, he gets to that spot on the elbow and just nails it every time. Like he can get there.
He is money this year. He is money. Him and DeMar DeRozan, he's cooled off a little bit in the last few weeks, but they have been the most killer players in the fourth quarter. Like the way CP just controls the tempo and just, you wouldn't know. What is he, 36, 37 now? You wouldn't know it.
Yeah.
He's a different animal.
He's incredible. And so I thought must have been maybe his last year in Houston, whatever year that was, 2018, 2019. Yep. I thought he was done. Honestly, I thought that was it. Then he got traded to OKC, and I was like, he's probably just going to finish his contract there and then retire and not do a whole lot. But he's just had this complete resurgence. He's not 100%. He's not the same, 25 and 10 guy, but he still gives you 16 and 10.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's also what he does, like in terms of a leadership perspective. You saw that OKC team was kind of almost a bit of a nothing team, and he dragged them with SGA there as well to the playoffs. Really, really took it up to Houston there. Turned some heads, and what he's done with Phoenix as well now in these 2 seasons, like he is just such a floor general. And the level of, I guess, trust he's got in his teammates, it just kind of permeates through the whole squad. So they look like a different team when he's on the court. But credit to them, they're hanging tough without him at the minute. So fair play to them.
And I think that's the most impressive thing about him is he has the trust in the team, but he also holds them accountable. Like you look at Devin Booker and the way he's brought him along. You look at the way he makes sure he involves DeAndre Ayton. You look at the way he makes sure everyone on the floor gets the shots that they want and involves them in the flow of the game, and then holds them accountable on defense. Like it's so impressive.
I tell you what, they're an exciting team, and I shudder to think who gets it. Like they are going to be a tough out this year. For any team that's coming out of the plane, well done to you. You've got out of the plane. Now you get to face the Phoenix Suns, who are going to be a 60+ win team. Congratulations.
Yeah. And, I guess at the moment, like it could be the Lakers who
don't
get that terrible matchup.
I tell you what, if they make it to the playoffs, I'll be stoked. That'll be a tremendous result given the way they're going. Like another battering today to the Timberwolves. They are looking in all sorts.
I don't get it. I didn't really understand that Westbrook trade when it happened.
Yep.
But and sometimes when I look at it, I'm like, oh, maybe I'm overreacting. Like, I'm a rugby guy. Like maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. And then
no, you're on the money. You're on the money. Don't worry, mate. Don't doubt yourself.
But it doesn't make sense, right? So you look at LeBron's career historically. Yeah. You put shooters around him, and they're successful.
Absolutely.
Like that's what he does. He can get his shots, but he drags the defense into the key. And then because he's such an incredible passer and has such incredible vision, he can find the open player. So
without a doubt.
Why would you bring in someone who just, dribbles the air out of the ball?
Yeah, and shoots absolute bricks. Like it's just incredible. And I'm with you. When that trade went down, I kind of thought, oh, okay, right. There's a world in which it works. You've almost got to have him that kind of, leading the second unit, that unit, being able to control the tempo, keep the intensity up, incredible passer in his own right. So find, your Taylor Horton Tuckers and your Wayne Ellingtons in the corner. But having him play as many minutes as he is, taking as many shots as he is, you've got arguably one of the 2 greatest players of all time on the court with you. We don't need you holding the ball. Like just get it out of your hands. Yeah. So it's been a funny year. I haven't really kind of been able to process everything that's gone down, but it's pretty bleak. It's pretty bleak given we won a title, 2 years ago. It's been quite a fall from grace.
Yeah. And
you wouldn't believe it, would you?
Yeah. No, and I get the Davis thing. Like I get that he brings a secondary scorer, he plays really good defense. He stretches the floor enough to create that room, and he's still a threat from 3. I understand, him not being there is a problem.
Yeah, 100%.
The reality is like, you plonk him in there the way the team's playing right now. Like, does he really make a difference?
To be honest, I don't think so. I really don't know what would actually help them. To be honest, as soon as they can get to the play, the better, because they are hard to watch in the regular season at the minute. Awesome seeing LeBron drop 50 on, nearly back-to-back nights. That's wicked. But outside of that, it's been, it's hard viewing. It really is hard viewing. So, I tell you what, though, wouldn't it be some story if they somehow made the playoffs, AD's back, somehow it all just clicks? What a story that would be. Same, how's this? If it's a Nets-Lakers final. What would the odds of that be?
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure if we looked at Sportsbet right now, we could get really good odds on that.
It would be juicy.
Yeah. But, I guess that, shifting our focus a little bit to the East now.
Yeah.
Like the Nets are the sleeping giant in that conference, in my view.
100%. 100%. They are, I tell you what, you know, they are going to be again, it's that same problem. You know, if you're who are we at the minute? The Heat, the 1 seed. If somehow Brooklyn finishes the 8th seed, you know, congratulations to the Heat. You get to face arguably probably the title favorite in the Nets. You know, it's tough, and we're still going to consider the fact that Ben Simmons has not suited up at all yet. That is a huge piece to kind of reintegrate into what is already a pretty star-studded squad.
Yeah, and you know, the Kyrie piece is interesting too, because he's only playing away games at the moment, and so I don't know what that looks like going into the future. Like, do the Nets take some of their home playoff games to Miami, because
take him on the road,
so he can play all those games. I don't know how that falls into place, because I saw the mayor of New York sort of come out and say, well, I can't do it for Kyrie and then not do it for every other New Yorker.
100%. But it's bizarre that he's allowed to be in the arena.
Yeah.
Like I just can't quite wrap my head around what's the difference with him, sitting on the bench without a mask on as opposed to being on the court. It's got me perplexed. And, like for the Nets, though, like we saw what he did the other night, dropping 60 on the Magic. Like that was like, oh, damn, look out. If you've got him for all your games.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, I played a pretty high level of footy, and I would come to preseason, sometimes a little bit overweight and a little bit unfit, and it would take me half the season to get right. Like, he's just come 100%. Back in and he's made an immediate impact. And I get, he's probably been working, been working with a private trainer and all that stuff. He's probably got a bit more money than I had when I was eating my food over Christmas. But like, it's incredible.
I tell you what, like if they somehow, who knows what will happen with the mandate. If they've got him for every game, you've got KD, that is scary. And you add one of the top couple of defensive players in the league in Ben Simmons back shortly. Like, and the good thing, like, I really believe this is the perfect spot for him. If Ben doesn't succeed in Brooklyn, he's not going to succeed anywhere.
Yeah,
because there is no
I think having
pressure.
Yeah, and I think having, a guy like Patty Mills there, a fellow 100%. Australian, another guy who's renowned for being a good leader and is happy to bring guys along. They play different styles, but they kind of play the same position, I guess, in a way. So I think having him there is going to really help. Particularly, and I never want to dismiss someone when they say they're having mental health issues.
100%.
And so you do need to toe the line there, because I think that was part of it, and it was clear that he wanted out of Philly. But I totally agree with you. Like I'm sitting here thinking, well, like, he grabs a defensive board and then takes off down the middle of the court, and he's got Kyrie and KD in either corner. Like, he's either going to have an open dunk or he's going to have an easy kick to the corner.
Yep. And that's kind of without counting all the shooters they've got now as well. Like Joe Harris is still out, but Seth Curry, Patty Mills, all these different options they've got. Like, saw that, what was it? They dropped 150 on the Magic the other day. And that was after kind of taking the foot off the pedal.
Yeah.
Like that's all Ben has to do. Don't worry about jumpers. Don't worry about any of it. Just do your role on the defensive end, which we know he's going to do. And then, find those players in transition, or just go to the bucket. Just be aggressive at the rim, and he will thrive.
And like,
it's awesome.
Like being able to run pick and roll with him and KD. Like, how are you going to stop that?
You're not
for real.
You're not. You are not. And to be honest, I think most teams, like, if they're going to play them, you've kind of almost got to say, right, well, we're not going to be able to lock these guys down. If they score 150, we've got to score 151. Like, it's just going to be a track meet, I reckon.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to be able to stop them. They're going to get theirs.
Yeah. And I really liked what Steve Nash said, on the trade. And because everyone wants Ben to shoot. I get it. Everyone wants him to shoot. But Steve Nash is like, well, I don't need him to shoot.
Exactly.
Like, if he wants to shoot, that's cool, but I don't need him to do that.
Exactly. And it takes, like, because at the minute he would feel like he's got the weight of the world on his shoulders. So, just having that kind of almost alleviated off him, it would be doing nothing but wonders for him, just having the backing of his teammates, of the coach, and being in a system that he can really probably look to thrive and kind of assert himself as one of those, one of the top defensive players in the league, no doubt, and one of the top players in the league, full stop.
Yeah, and to have you've obviously got Paddy there, you've got Steve Nash there, who's one of the greatest at the one spot. But then you've got Kyrie, you've got KD, like all these guys have won. Nash didn't win as a player, but all these guys have won championships and
Winners.
been part of championship culture and winning culture. So to walk into that and feel like you're immediately part of the fabric of the team is going to be massive for him.
Absolutely. I tell you what, they are. They are going to just tear through everyone, I reckon. Like if they get the potential they've got, if it all clicks, the Bucks maybe, but I don't really see any team that can probably stop them if they are firing on all cylinders.
I don't trust the Bucks.
Yeah.
So
I like a lot hinges on Brook Lopez, I reckon.
Yeah.
Like if you've got, who have they got? They've had Bobby Portis playing center for a lot. You've got Giannis as your other big.
Yeah.
If they're the two you've got to match up with your Andre Drummonds, your KDs, it is dangerous. It is very, very dangerous. Yeah. So I reckon a lot hinges on him.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, you're relying on Chris Middleton every night.
I tell you what a coin flip that guy is. Like the analogy, we use it quite a bit on our show as well. And I know a couple of other podcasts do. He really is a Ferris wheel.
Yeah.
And you don't know if you're going to get him at the top or if you're going to get him at the bottom. And, it's sometimes like the lever stops at the top and he has a real purple patch. But when it comes down to the bottom, you know about it. And it's pretty brutal to watch.
And it comes, as you say, like it comes crashing down hard and he's almost unplayable.
Yeah,
maybe that's.
To be honest, I reckon Drew's their number 2. Like I love Drew Holiday. I reckon he's sick on both ends of the court.
Yeah.
I have a lot more trust in him than Middleton for sure.
Yeah. I liked him with that group at the Pelicans.
Yeah. Yep.
And that for a number of reasons didn't pan out. And I'm glad that, he got to the Bucks and it was successful because to me he's always been a really underrated player.
So true. So true. And now he's starting to do it more. Like he's always been quality on the defensive end, but he's starting to show a little more on that offensive side as well, which is what the Bucks need. Like Giannis cannot drop 50 points every game. Well, actually, he probably can,
he probably could.
He needs some help. He needs some help, and I reckon Drew's that second guy for sure.
Yeah, but and a call back to LeBron's 50-pointer, like it's awesome, but most nights when guys have huge numbers, one guy has huge numbers, it's because the team is playing poorly, and so they need 100%. To pick up the slack. So it's not all that often you hear about a guy having 60 points and they win, or 50 points and they win.
Yeah. Yep.
And as you say, Jonas, he could probably drop 50 every night if he wanted to, but I don't know how much they'd win.
Well, that's the thing. Like teams are like, I know they were saying kind of last year, right? If you've got to average 110 points a game, we'll put the clamps on everyone else. We'll let that guy, Giannis, or whoever score 50 points.
Yeah.
And we'll just stop the other guys getting 60 points. Like, easy.
Yeah.
So, you kind of weigh up the risk and reward of it, don't you? So, I tell you what, they've got a lot of pressure on them, the reigning champs. A lot of pressure.
Yeah. And as I say, I don't trust them at the moment. That might change. My mind changes week to week when I look at it. But at the moment, I think it's going to be tough. And they're sort of sitting in that 2 spot, I think, at the moment. And so they're a chance to have to play the Nets early.
Tell you what, how's that for a first round series?
Yeah.
I tell you what, and that's the thing with the East. Like even the Celtics as of late been on fire. Philly, starting to find a bit of traction there. Like all these teams are going to be a tough out. Even you look in the play, and you don't want to catch Trae Young on a night where he's cooking. There's a lot of teams in there. It's probably the deepest the East has been in
a long time.
A really long time.
Yeah,
a long time, which is good.
Because I remember you kind of used to look at the East and be like, "Oh, what team's LeBron on?"
Yeah, exactly.
Win. And now, as you say, there's a number of teams in there. Like I like the Heat. I like what the Celtics can do to you on defense in particular. Yep. Like they can just clamp you down and you get into this situation where 90 points is a win.
Yep. Yep.
You know,
Absolutely.
and then we've spent a bit of time on the Nets. Like there are so many teams that could come out of the East at the moment.
Tell you what, it's fun though, isn't it? How fun is it? Like you'd be a brave man to pick it at the moment. And I'm the same as you. As you just said, how you change your mind. Like, as you mentioned, you're a rugby fan yourself. I love soccer, AFL, love all the sports, but a lot of them are just on the weekends. So you've got a whole week to kind of digest it, whereas the NBA is changing every day.
Yeah. And then, you look at like Denver, for example, they had like six games in 9 days or whatever. And by the, by the end of it, they looked cooked. But you get, 3 games a week, 2 games a week from everyone.
Changes so quickly.
Yeah.
So quickly.
Yeah.
I tell you what, it's awesome. Like as a podcaster and, creating content and whatever else, there's never a dull moment. Like you've always got something to speak about.
Yeah.
Like it's, you don't have to force stuff too much, which is good.
Yeah. And, like the thing I'm watching pretty closely at the moment, just as someone who has an interest in this, is we've had this plethora of talent in the NBA for a while now. And we've had, some pretty clear sort of stalwarts, guardians of the game, your LeBrons, Chris Paul, Giannis is up in that echelon. And, particularly for LeBron, like, 37, he's starting to already think about, life after basketball.
Yeah.
And then we've got this other crop now coming through. Ja Morant is one that I'm watching really closely.
Oh.
Like, to be honest, he scares me from a health and safety perspective.
Yeah. Yep.
The way he goes
we spoke
to the
about
hoop
this last year.
Yeah. The way he goes to the hoop. Oh man. It reminds me
of shudder every time, don't you?
Yeah, it reminds me a bit of sort of peak Rose, like 2011 Derrick Rose before he.
Yeah.
I hate to make that comparison because I don't want to, I don't want what happened to Derrick to happen to Ja, but he's that kind of athlete.
And he's on that same trajectory too, isn't he? Like, MVP wise and accolades wise, he's like, I tell you what, he's the most must-watch player in the league. Like, you cannot take your eyes off him. And we spoke about it a little more last season as he kind of was starting to make his ascendancy. But, each time he goes up, you
honestly, I wince. I do.
You do. Yeah. You do. And it's, I tell you what, he just plays without fear. And it's awesome to see just the developments in his game. Like this season, like his 3-point stroke come along, the playmaking's continuing, like his ability on the defensive boards as well. He's actually really evolving his game into such a well-rounded player. It's awesome, as you said, like those players like your Lucas, your Jars, all these players who are kind of that next wave of talent. It's good to see that once the LeBrons fade away, there's people who are going to take up that mantle. And I tell you what, I've kind of been a bit of a pessimist on the Grizzlies for probably the past season or two.
Yeah.
And it's only been in the last couple of months that I've kind of thought, oh, okay, I might have mucked up here. They are the business. Fun to watch.
They're so fun to watch. Like, and I'm a league pass guy. I've always had league pass, and they were always a team that I liked to watch. Even when they were not winning, just because they were fun.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And the characters they've got, like it's, Jar's no doubt the standout guy, but some of the players they've got now, like Steven Adams I love, to be honest, Desmond Bain.
Yeah.
That guy's built like a Mack truck. His guns, he is rock solid. But like they've got so many blokes who they just do it by committee. It's they're fun. And it's awesome that they're going to be a team for the next decade with how young they all, like I think it's Kyle Anderson and Steven Adams are the only 2 players 27 or above or something of the kind.
I think I read that as well, which is really impressive.
And scary for the league.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's kind of, I hate to make all comparisons, but it's kind of like the Westbrook, Harden, Durant, when early part of their career, when they, when you had Harden coming off the bench running the second unit and like, that was another trade that baffled me back when, but it's reminiscent of that, where they kind of, I don't think anyone would say that they expected this from Memphis this year.
Yeah.
So, they've probably outperformed everyone's expectation, and a large
100%.
part of that is because of what Jar's doing. And if he continues on that trajectory, we know what Adams gives us. If Bain continues to improve, like we could be talking about them as, perennial championship contenders every year.
Absolutely. Yep. And like I kind of tried to push it aside for so long, but they really are in that category now. Like they are really, even this season, like keep using that term of tough out. They are going to be tough because, with that kind of that young fire in their bellies, they're just going to play so hard every single game. And with that intensity, athleticism that they've got.
Yeah. And I think that, like, what do they have to lose? Everyone is kind of talking about how they've outperformed and whatever. So
exactly,
like if they, if they go out in 7 games in the first round, like the fans are happy, the media's happy, hopefully Jar and the guys aren't happy, but then, if they make the conference finals, and I wouldn't be surprised if they did.
Yep.
Then it's a huge media story again. But then the pressure then gets lumped on them the following year. You look at
exactly.
You look at the Hawks as an example of that. Really outperformed in the playoffs, and now, they're back.
They're stuttering, aren't they? They are really faltering. It's a shame because I had such high hopes for them this season, and it's just fizzled out pretty quickly. They're like a shooting star.
Yeah, I loved that. Like, I love Trae Young's performance against the Knicks. Like, I just love that he was like, you know what? Yeah, I'm the villain. Let's go.
I'm the bad guy.
Yeah.
The league needs it, don't they? And he just embraced it. It's like, cool. I'll take this role and I'll run with it. And it just spurred him on.
Yeah. I talk. I'm a professional wrestling fan from back in the day, and so you have.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, well, there you go. So the heels and faces, and the heel turn sometimes, is more fun. Is so much more fun than the face turn. So
being the bad guy isn't it? Like being the bad guy, getting booed. Everyone. If you're the good guy, everyone will eventually turn on you. If you're the good guy long enough, they'll turn on you. So you may as well just embrace being a heel.
Yeah, well, it's funny. Like, LeBron really battled with it when he went to Miami. He just wanted everyone. He still wanted everyone to like him. He's still the king. He should have turned around and called himself the dictator or something, and just been like, "Fuck everyone else."
Yeah, I'm the man, and I'm going to run with it. Absolutely. How good would that have been to say?
Yeah, they were, and they were all the media were already talking about the Miami Heat being, this like. The force that's dark side of the force or whatever. They should have just run with that. They should have just really lent into the heel turn. It would have been so much more fun.
To be honest, I reckon they would have stayed together longer.
Yeah.
They just decided to all be dicks. Like, it's like, all right, if I go somewhere else, I'm not going to get to have this much fun and just really embrace it. I reckon they would have stayed together longer.
Yeah.
And it would have been way more entertaining too.
Yeah. Yeah. I 100% agree with that. And, I guess back to, looking at some of the next stars, like they're littered everywhere. I really like what Cade Cunningham's doing with the Pistons. I really like the Giddey SGA combo at OKC. Like,
absolutely.
And
that's going to be fun. That is going to be fun.
Yeah, and even Jalen Suggs with the Magic, like he's looking like he could be, he could be fun too. And Garland, Darius Garland, like I'm
loving the Cavs. I'm loving the Cavs this year. Like, I know they've had a rough probably last month or two, but you look at what they're doing. Like, Garland is a stud. That guy is wicked. What Mobley's doing as well, the big piece that kind of excites me is they've got that big trade chip of Colin Sexton.
Yeah.
What could they get for him still? Because, I don't think he's part of their future. Just the disharmony we saw last season and whatever else. And Garland's established himself as that lead ball handler. What can they get to bring in? You've got LeVert now. You've got Kevin Love, who's had a phenomenal season. Put him with Jared Allen. Like, that is a core that's going to really cause some trouble there. Maybe one or two pieces away from being legit contenders. But, Garland's, he's been so impressive.
Do you think LeBron's looking back in Cleveland going, oh, that would be fun?
Well, I tell you what, I would be surprised if he wasn't. And it's a weird one though, because they've got such a good thing as it is at the minute.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to almost ruin that. But
Yeah. Because
I tell you what, he
I
probably is
think
shaking his head.
yeah, I think he'd be hard to play with. Because
Yeah.
all of a sudden you go from, what's working to, all right, we're running through LeBron now.
Exactly. Garland, who's been so in control, doing such awesome things on the offensive end, is just going to get all the ball sucked out of his hands. And just like while he's in such like a few of these players in such a growth phase, having that kind of stunted, for what really? For what, maybe 1 year, 2 years at max?
Yeah,
exactly. It's a lot to sacrifice
because
for a team that's on the rise.
Yeah, I often wonder about when LeBron went back to Cleveland the first time, or sorry, after Miami, and Wiggins was on the team.
Yeah,
and then you look at what Wiggins is doing now with the Warriors.
All-star Wiggins, all-star starter Wiggins.
Yeah, but
God, who would have thought you'd ever say that?
Oh, I know, but is there a world where like LeBron comes to Cleveland and Wiggins is Warriors Wiggins from day dot, because he's not, he's not touted as the next guy, or the next LeBron, the next Michael Jordan, whatever you want to call it. He's option 3 because he's got Kyrie and LeBron.
Yeah, well, 100%, and it's such a big kind of what if moment, isn't it? Because it's some people are made under pressure, like I said, diamonds are made under pressure, and some people can hack that pressure of having LeBron or whatever the case, but some aren't built for that.
Yeah.
It would be an awesome, just bit of a time travel moment to go back and see what it would have been like. Hats off to Wiggins though this season. Who would have ever picked he would be an all-star starter for the Golden State Warriors? Like that's I tell you what, if someone had said that to me at the start of the season, I would have laughed in their faces, like giving it no chance. But yeah, it's awesome for him. It's awesome for him to see him really start to establish himself in the league, like as a really formidable player.
Yeah, and it's cool to see that, maybe he's not 100% of what he was touted to be, but he's unlocked, his potential, or 95% of what we think he could be. Like he's still a great athlete. He's now playing pretty good defense.
And that's the big thing, isn't it? Yeah, that's the big thing with where he's at now in Golden State. Like he's got to be able to do it on that end of the floor, because you've got so many incredible offensive talents as it is in Clay and Steph and whatever else. But he's really got to do his job on that end, which he is, which is awesome.
Yeah, and I always like when you see like these redemption stories. I think he was always hard done by in Minnesota, because the weight of that team was on his shoulders, and it didn't pan out that way, and that team is still trying to get to where they want to get to,
getting there slowly but surely.
And
just speaking of players to watch, Anthony Edwards, he's fun. That guy's wicked as well, just with that nuclear athleticism.
Yeah.
Oof.
And he's hops. Yeah, he's another guy that I wince at when he goes to the rim, because again, like no fear. It's just like, get out of my way, or get in my way, I'll just jump over you.
I tell you what, if you put those two, and in 5 years you just put a mixtape together of each of them, their best highlight moments, they would be up there, I reckon, with like the all-time kind of dunks and mixtape talent.
Yeah, in-game dunks.
Yeah.
Agreed.
No, it's unreal. It is unreal to see them do their thing. That one Edwards had on Watanabe on the Raptors is like, some of them you just got to shudder at. Like, you want to go up and contest every ball on the defensive end, but sometimes you just got to say, all right, you have it. I'll move out of the way for this one. You just got to put your hand up and say, all right, this ain't my night.
So I played high school basketball in my high school, and there was this guy. I couldn't tell you what his name was, but our competition wasn't very good. But there was one guy in our league who could dunk, and like it was a well-known fact that he could dunk. Yeah. And he wasn't super tall. He was maybe like 6'3", 6'4", so a proper good athlete. And my lasting memory of playing on that team is we missed a 3. He got the ball on the perimeter, like perimeter rebound, took off down the right-hand side of the court, and I sort of took off down the middle, and I looked around and I was like, there's no one There's no
I'm
one
in
here.
trouble.
I'm gonna have to go up and contest this, and just all in my face, like, and like high school basketball.
And you got to do it too, don't you?
Yeah.
You got to go up.
You
got to do it.
High school basketball game. There's maybe 40 people in the gym, but I swear it sounded like there were 30,000 people just going nuts because this guy just dunked on me.
Tell you what, some of them are almost career enders, isn't it? High school.
Yeah.
Yeah, this isn't the sport for me. Let's go try.
Honestly, I just wanted to walk off the court. I was like, oh my God, like I don't even want to be here.
Did he give it to you? Did he let you know about
it? Nah, he was good about it. He was like,
he's like, I know I'm pretty good. I don't need to say anything.
He recognized that he'd embarrassed me in front of my family and my girlfriend enough. So
fair play to him then. That's all right then. Nothing worse than if they turn into a real dick and let you have it. It's like you've already pulled
come on, bro. Yeah. Who do you like? Who do you like in the MVP race at the moment? Like there's a few names getting tossed around, and again, for me, this changes every week. But who, like, if you were to wave your or look into your crystal ball and go and look into the future when they name it, who's your guy right now?
So I reckon there's a pretty clear top three. You've got Embiid, Jokic, and Giannis. From that, I think it's like it's incredible. You look at the numbers Giannis has put up. Even you look 4 or 5 like Ja Morant, DeRozan, all nearly MVP seasons in any other given year in their own right.
Yeah.
But I think Jokic and Embiid have separated a little bit. From there, I tell you what, it's really going to come down to the last few games. I think it's splitting hairs, but I will say it's hard because I'm leaning towards Jokic, but I think just because of the narrative side of it, the fact he hasn't won one, I will say Embiid.
Yeah, and
it's hard.
Yeah, it is, but I agree with that. And it's pretty well documented that the voters get like fatigue. Yep. So as you say, Jokic has won one, Giannis has already won one. Like, like they get fatigue, and so they look for because they're all media members, or most of them are media members too. So they're looking for new angles, they're looking for new ways, and like that. That's not to say that Joel doesn't deserve it, because he's been incredible. On a team that's faced a lot of adversity front end of the year with all the Simmons stuff, and it's under the microscope now after the Harden trade.
Yeah. Yep.
Which we can talk about in a sec. But I agree. I think he gets it, particularly if the Sixers can sort of stay in that 2 or 3 spot.
Well, that's the big kind of little point on it. I think I saw today. Denver currently sits 6th. With the Mavs win today, I think they're 2 games back or 4th for the Mavs there.
Yeah.
If they can somehow will themselves into home court, get up to 4th, and if the Sixers maybe drop a game or 2, I think that's the big point.
Yeah.
Because Jokic will get a lot of love just for the fact he hasn't had Murray, he hasn't had Porter Jr., and he's really carried this team by himself, like unequivocally done it by himself. His second best player would have been Will Barton, you'd say. So he gets big points for that. For as good as Embiid's been, he's had more help. He's absolutely had more help. But if they drop a couple of games, Denver win a couple, if they're around that same position, it kind of almost put the line through that factor, because I think even though their win totals are pretty similar, the fact that Philly are higher, Embiid's getting a bit of a bump for.
Yeah.
So I think if they can kind of close the gap on that front, I think Jokic absolutely is well and truly in it, and it helped the other day that they beat Philly, I think.
Yeah.
Both had massive games, and they kind of cancelled each other out in a box score perspective. But the fact that the Nuggets won, and as we said, Jokic did it by himself. Embiid's got Harden, he's got Tobias Harris. I think he gets big points for that.
Would you be worried at the moment if you're a Sixers fan?
I would be. And I would, just for the pure fact, I read a bit of an article today, and it kind of broke down Harden's, I guess, kind of playoff failures, and I guess his big moment failures.
Yeah.
And just from what we've seen, he's had a couple of good games in Philly, but they've all been done with a real lack of intensity.
Yeah.
So, and that is concerning. That is concerning. And I just don't know how it's going to all mesh together in a playoff series.
Yeah, because I look at him and I'm like, and I kind of think, he's not in James Harden MVP shape in terms of his
That's
body.
it.
So and
Yep.
he doesn't seem to be as quick. He doesn't seem to be able to get to the hoop as easily as he used
100%.
to. I guess the other thing that concerns me a little bit is, the way that the games are officiated. He's getting less calls than he used to.
And it was such a big thing, wasn't it? Like in his MVP season and, the last couple of years for both him and Embiid's still getting quite a few calls, but Harden, just the way it is being called now.
Yeah.
And like it's incredible because he's arguably one of the best scorers of the 21st century, but you just wouldn't know it at the minute.
Yeah.
It's a real kind of change in shift, I guess, for him being almost more of a playmaker now, as we saw with his time in Brooklyn. I just don't. I have a lot more faith in other teams. I think if you're a Philly fan, your ceiling's very, very high, like title for sure. Like there is that scope there with the way Embiid's playing. But the floor, given the other teams, is also low. It could be a first round exit potentially.
Yeah, because I think they gave up a lot in that trade. Like, you look at Steph Curry and how important he's now to the Nets. I think
Andre Drummond.
Yeah, and Drummond is the other big one.
Big piece because in the playoffs, Embiid, you don't want to be banging with all these big boys, all game, every game. So for him to come in and be able to, step onto a Giannis or step onto a whoever else was such a big plus for them.
Yeah, and that was the thing. He took 15 to 20 minutes away that Embiid didn't have to carry the defensive load, didn't have to get boards, didn't have to play elite defense. He held it down for him so that he could get a rest. He could, and like it
was a big deal. I will say I do give them points though, because it looked like there could potentially be a Maxey or a Thibault in the package.
Yeah.
I like the fact they didn't have to give up either of them.
Yeah,
particularly
I wouldn't have given up. I wouldn't have given up Maxey, and I wouldn't have given up Thibault. I think Thibault, we know what he can do defensively, and I think
100%.
I think he, his game continues to evolve offensively too. Like he
showed flashes at the Olympics with the Boomers there. Like, it hasn't quite clicked this season with Philly, but he has shown that potential.
Yeah.
So it's just a massive trade that went down, trying to wrap your head around all the moving pieces. But I like they didn't have to get rid of either of them. And likewise agree. If they had said, right, we'll give you, Simmons and Maxey, I think it probably would have been a no deal because like he is really the third star now. Like I am and have been for a very long time, very low on Tobias Harris.
Yeah.
Like the size of that guy's contract, it is borderline criminal what he's doing to that franchise. But Matt, he
should play with a balaclava on.
He should, man. He absolutely should. It's just ridiculous what he's getting paid.
Yeah,
to be a mediocre to good player. Like that is top level superstar money.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, yes, he has the ability to drop 30 points and get eight boards and some assists and play good defense, but he can't do it every night.
No. It's a bit of a flash in the pan, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. And like you hope that maybe he gives you, one of those games like late in a playoff series. Like that would be icing on the cake. But as you say, to be hamstrung so much by that contract for such a it's us saying he's a mediocre player, but he's a mediocre player. He is
and
slightly above average.
He's slightly above average. That's fair. I guess it is hard as well because his roles chopped and changed a lot between being, a number 2 star to being, arguably probably now the number 4 star and all the different kind of little aspects and changes he's had to go throughout the franchise. I can't really sympathize with a guy making 40 plus million a year, but I kind of understand it's there has been certain elements to it that might have impacted his progression. But I guess the point is that you just made, he is a guy who could, if Embiid's getting double teamed and Harden and Maxey is shut down, he's a capable guy to throw it to with a couple of seconds remaining. So it is a big plus to have.
Yeah. But I just think
we could eat our words in a month or two. He could be the absolute hero for Philly here.
Yeah, he wins the Finals MVP. Averages 32 and 10 a game. 10 a game.
Quit it. Stop it. Imagine that. What, soundbite this a little bit.
Yeah. We'll use this as a clip. We'll put this up on Instagram. But I am worried about Philly. And we've got a small sample, so far, but there's a really short period now for them to figure it out for Harden and particularly the Harden and Embiid thing to work it out.
You just want to see him, like, even against Orlando or a game in the middle of March, just while it's new and they're trying to figure it out, while the fans are on his side before they turn, because that is a ruthless fan base there. Brutal. So he needs to get them on his side and just, play a couple of games with a bit of intensity. They're in a pretty good spot now. I reckon Doc would be happy to kind of rest him and Embiid alternately. But just the games you're playing, just play with a bit of heart, play with a bit of soul, and actually show the fans that there is reason for optimism. Because
and I think the other thing you can't count out too is he's quit on 2 teams in a year.
100%. Yeah. Yep. And it's as we just said, this fan base, if you are any sign of weakness, not many players. Embiid's done it. He weathered the storm. Like, he was getting booed out of the building just about, and he turned it around. But there's not many players that can kind of rise above that level of adversity. It's going to make you or break you. And, we've seen Harden break, 2 franchises, as you said, in a year. There's a lot of expectation because both those franchises he asked to be traded to, and is now asked to leave.
Yeah, and I loved how, when all this was happening, he was like, no, Philly was always my preferred destination. It's like,
the ultimate strategist. Yeah, like
he wanted to go to Brooklyn.
What are we doing? We're playing checkers and he's playing chess. He's thinking 3 moves ahead. Clever guy. He just wants to party. He does not look like he wants to play ball. He just wants to be hanging with the boys, Lil Baby, Jack Harlow, the rest of the crew, glitz and glam. It's just, it's crazy. It's crazy. This is getting to the pointy end of the season and the care factor's not there. It's frustrating to watch because, as we said, their ceiling is a title. A title, and for a guy who hasn't won one yet,
that should be the expectation, to be honest.
Yeah.
And as you say, he hasn't won a title. Like, that should be enough. Like, you've done everything else, and you've got close before, and there's this narrative that you go missing in the playoffs. Like, he should be using all of that as fuel to just.
And that's what really the separation point, isn't it, between the good, the great, and then the the all-time greats. And that's like, as you said, he's done it all. Scoring champion, MVP, the accolades go on and on and on for him, but that's the one bit that's eluding him at the minute. And it's the biggest piece.
Yeah. It's the biggest legacy piece.
That is the one. That is the one that you want.
Well, and like when you it's obviously hard to compare eras, but I've had so many of these Kobe, LeBron, Bill Russell, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, like, who's the best? And it's sort of clear, but ultimately the Michael Jordan LeBron piece, it comes down to the championships. That's usually the tiebreaker.
Yep. Absolutely. And that's why he's just not regarded in that upper echelon, is he? Because he just hasn't been able to perform. He's got that tendency to go missing, and this is really he's probably not going to get any better point. He's getting older now, into his 30s. There's probably not going to be any better time to win a title. Embiid's had health issues in the past. Who's to say he's going to stay fit next season? He's got all the momentum on his side. I think this is the best time he's ever going to have at a title.
Yeah, I agree with that. And, I enjoy a guy who enjoys the aftermatch function as much as the next. But, when you're talking about a guy who's getting paid, be close to $40 million. Like, come on, bro, take it seriously, please.
Isn't it crazy? Like, isn't it crazy? Just like, this is their job. Like, it's essentially like if you go to work pissed, almost like this is their job. But they're just, the difference is they're getting paid just millions upon millions upon millions more, and yet they can't take it seriously.
You get to play a game for a living. Like your job
Us
is to show up, practice hard, lift hard,
shoot some
play hard.
hoops.
Like how good
Crazy.
would that? Imagine that. Imagine being able like to say, "Oh, well, Liam, what do you do for a living?" "Oh, I play hoops every day."
Man,
With 15 of my best friends.
Exactly. Like I would chop off my left nut to be a professional athlete, like 100%.
Yeah.
Like, you got two, so it's all good. But it's bizarre. It's bizarre. I hope for him though. Like I know a couple of Philly supporters, and they're kind of on shaky ground as well. They're kind of biting their tongue between being really up and about and excited about it, or if they're kind of almost preparing for excuses when they fail.
Yeah.
But as we said, the East, getting out of the East is going to be a battle in its own right. So, there's no easy matchups. Bar at the minute, I think certain teams are targeting, that third seed just to hopefully play the Cavs in the first round.
Yep.
But even still, like there is no easy beats in that conference.
But and we spoke about it a little bit before. Like the Cavs are young enough and dumb enough that nothing's going to scare them. And
exactly.
They've got obviously Kevin Love on that team too, who's been there. He's done it. So for him, it's sort of like whatever. Like let's do it. Like I'll fall in with you guys. So I totally agree with you. Like every year there's always one team that outperforms, and if you're one of the top 4 seeds, usually it's you that gets toppled.
Yeah, it gets punked.
Yeah.
Yep. So, I tell you what, watch this space. I can't wait. The playoffs, it's kind of, I'm almost happy for the fact that I've almost written the Lakers off, because it actually means I can actually enjoy and put all my efforts into all the other series, as not being a fan, just a fan of a team, but being a fan of the game. So I'm super excited.
It's funny you mentioned that because I get crap for this all the time from my friends. But so I don't support a team. I have teams that I like, but I just like the game. I like to watch the game. And I always said, I'll support whoever I go and watch first. And so my first ever NBA game was the Lakers v the Celtics at the Staples Center, which was incredible.
What a first game to go to. How's that?
Yeah. And it's so 2019. And so we had these seats like way, way up in the upper echelon.
Nosebleed.
And I sort of spotted this row of seats that were maybe 4 or 5 back from half court. And I spotted them. They were empty. And so they'd been empty for the first 2 quarters. And I was like, we got to go. We're on.
Yeah.
So we got a quarter and a half in those seats before some rich kid kicked us out of his seats. But it was amazing. So that, and
that's wicked.
Then the next game I went to was Phoenix and Chicago when both of those teams were terrible. But
a fall from grace.
I just decided, and for the reason you just mentioned, it allows me to just enjoy it, watch the playoffs for what it is, and I'm so excited about the playoffs because I don't think there's going to be any 4-0 series. I think every series is going to go, probably 6 games at a minimum, 6 or 7 games. And I think there's so many games that are going to be decided. There's going to be buzzer beaters. There's going to be, 2-point games. There's going to be controversial calls. Like there's going to be no dead rubbers, which I'm really pumped about.
Well, who's your pick as champ? Who's your pick to raise the trophy at this point?
Oh, I like Phoenix.
Yeah.
I think the Warriors at full strength, and everyone peaking, I don't see anyone being able to beat them.
Yep.
And then I like the Nets if they've got all their guys.
Yeah.
But then maybe it's a safe pick, but I will say the Suns, because I think sometimes you got to lose one to learn how to win one.
So true. So true. And just, that chip on the shoulder they'll play with, you saw Devin Booker after their series lost to the Bucks there, and it was just like looking up, damn. Yeah. But it's kind of that, I'll be back.
Yeah. And I think if they can come out of the West, I think they win. I'm not discounting the East, but I think if they go through all that adversity to come out of the West. I don't think I don't think Booker, Ayton, and Paul are going to let them walk away empty-handed again.
Yeah, I tell you, it changes every day, doesn't it? Before today's events, it transpired with Curry.
Yeah,
I was saying the Warriors. Like, I think, just as you said, when they're at full strength, with the ability they've got to just absolutely put a game away from three, they've got defensive-minded players now with Draymond Green back, Andrew Wiggins. Wiseman can hopefully, when he makes his return, he's got 10 to 15 games to hopefully make a bit of an impact before the playoffs.
But, he's obviously talented. Like, he was a top pick. He is. Top draft pick.
Exactly. He's getting discounted very, very early here.
Yeah.
So it's, I just think if they're at full strength, they've had a couple of years, especially Clay, for a guy who's missed that much time, they're going to rally behind him. They want to get back to the top of the mountain. Yep. And for this core, they've probably got another one or two cracks at it, maybe. But like, this is a really almost not last roll of the dice, but one of the last rolls of the dice. So I'll say the Warriors at the minute. I think they've got the ability to just smoke everyone. And
I think if they get another one, then you start having the conversation around them being one of the greatest groups ever, in terms of longevity of success. No one's going to touch those 90s Bulls, and we know that. Yep. So let's just put them in their own category. But
they're in their own one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't worry about them. They're gone. But like, and it is like, and they've had to kind of, you look at those injuries that happened with KD when he was there, Clay, Steph, all these blokes who have suffered all these injuries, they could really, have won another couple of titles. If everything felt easily, they've probably almost been hard done by.
Yeah.
Even given all their success.
Because I think, if Durant doesn't get injured, they probably win that Toronto one.
Yep, I think so. And they potentially run it back then as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
That could be a big turning point, for all the fallout between Draymond and KD. Nothing's going to band-aid it better than the title.
Winning fixes everything.
Absolutely it does. Absolutely it does. So, it could be a very different conversation if they win another one. Who knows how that would have all played out. It's like the butterfly effect. But, I tell you what, another title, and they are right up there.
Yeah, agreed. And on that note,
and same too with Curry as well. Like, he's starting to gain some traction in that talk. It's crazy that, he only surpassed 20,000 points the other day.
Yeah.
I thought he had more than that. But he's, with his accolades, with the way he's kind of revolutionized the game, he's getting into that, that top 10 to 15 of all time talk for sure.
Well, and I think, he's another guy who's kind of transcended the sport. There are so many people who know who he is, who aren't basketball fans. And so,
mate, absolutely.
When you look at, players who have had the biggest impact on basketball, Jordan's in that conversation, Iverson's in that conversation. And I think you're right. I think Steph Curry is now starting to encroach on that. And, I think the special thing about him is he probably could have way more points than he has. He's just so unselfish.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right. And it's, the way he kind of, MVP took the back seat almost when KD was there. That takes a big guy to do that. When you're that good that you can carry a team, but you're like, all right, I'll step aside for you.
Yeah.
That takes a phenomenal, not only player, but a phenomenal human being, because, for the most part, humans are pretty selfish. Like, if there's a chance for glitz and glamour and glory, they're going to take it 9 times out of 10. So for him to do that for the good of the team was, fair play to him.
One of my favorite stories, it's actually a Clay story, but when they were pitching KD on, come and play with us, they were talking, Clay was getting really excited about, you're going to get, like, you got Steph and Draymond's going to kick you the ball and you're going to get all these open shots. And then he just looked up and he's like, man, I'm going to get so many open shots.
And that team, isn't it crazy to think like that was actually a team with just Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Kevin Durant, Iguodala. What a ridiculous team.
But just the cap, the cap just blew out. I can't even remember the figure, but it just blew out. And Tyler Johnson was earning $20 million a year.
I know. I know. Like money's no object, is it? Like it's kind of like
Is Tyler
that one
Johnson
that
still in the league?
oh is he? I'd
I'll
have to
look.
check that. I couldn't do.
Yeah, I'll look
But
it
it's
up. But he,
yeah,
like,
give us
he was a role player at best, and he just earned all this money because they had it.
mate. I love some of those stories. These players who, what is it? What's the saying? Like you never make a promise when you're happy. You never have a whatever else. You kind of, I think you know where I'm going, but it's like they must have all had a really good day in the front office and said, right, we'll give this guy the absolute bag for doing nothing.
Yeah. So he's on the Spurs. He's on the Spurs right now, and he's played 3 games. He's played 3 games all year.
Wicked. And probably still getting paid.
Yeah.
Unreal. But it's like, I love the one for the Lakers. They had, I think he might have come off last year, or maybe it's this season he comes off the books, but Luol Deng had not been in the league for years.
Yeah.
But was just getting a truckload. Like even the other year, he was like our 3rd highest paid player or something stupid.
Crazy. Yeah, because they deferred all that money, didn't they?
That's it. Just extended it out. Tell you what, that's not bad, is it? Sitting at home on your couch and you're still raking in 6-7 million a year.
Yeah, well, I read one the other day. Ken Griffey Jr. He's still getting paid by the Cincinnati Reds baseball. He's still getting paid like $4 million a year because he signed a 10-year contract and he retired a year early, so they deferred.
Yeah.
They deferred the last 30 million over 10 years or whatever, or for 40 million over 10 years. So yeah, he's still getting paid.
Poor thing. Yeah, it's a hard life, isn't it? It's a hard life.
Yeah.
Tell you what. And here are you and I trying to struggle with bloody technical issues.
Trying to struggle with lining up audio and video, and what a time.
Unreal.
Anyway, mate, I really appreciated this. I really enjoyed this. This was fun.
Yeah, I've had an absolute blast. It's been awesome. It's something, as we said, we've had in the works for a little while. It's been wicked to come on. We'll have to get you on ours as well. I love talking hoops with anyone, but especially with you. And can't thank you enough, just on a personal note, everything you're doing with the cover for us as well, and for content creators out there. It really is. It's awesome and really appreciated.
I appreciate it, mate. And that's what we're here to do. We're trying to give that centralize a platform for some young up and coming independent creators to grow and hopefully stick around. But if they don't and they outgrow us, that's just how it goes. And we're going to have some fun along the way. So this won't be the last you hear from Nic on this podcast. And I look forward to jumping in on yours.
100%, mate. Absolutely.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Nic. Thank you to the Daily Dribble podcast for lending me Nic. So thank you, Ro. Thank you, Liam, for allowing Nic to jump on mine. I'm excited for an opportunity to jump on yours, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. See how we go. See if my baby boy lets me do it. While he's taking a nap, I'll jump on for 20 minutes, chop it up. Thank you to the Cover Podcast Network. Thank you to Riverside. Thank you to you guys, the listeners. That's why we do it. I would like to hear from you. If you have some questions for Lydia Williams, who's coming back on the show in a few weeks' time. So if you have some questions for her, reach out through our Instagram page at Give'emLiam, or flick us an email at thecover.com.au, admin at thecover.com.au. Apologies. And send those questions in, and I'm happy to get her to answer those as a segment on the show in a couple of weeks' time when she comes back. But otherwise, have a good weekend. Enjoy some footy, enjoy some basketball, enjoy some sunshine while we still have it. I guess here in Canberra. For those of you up north who are struggling, I want you to know that we are thinking about you. We are doing what we can. If you are really struggling up there and you need some help, you need some supplies, you need anything, please reach out, because we are able to help. We just often don't know what we need to do. So just know that we are thinking about you, and we are ready and willing to help in any way we can. So, yeah. Anyway, that's it for this week. Enjoy the weekend if you can. I will be back next week.